Guys, remember those beaver that have been giving us quite a problem, flooding out our land? Well, I finally meet up with somebody who's gonna take care of those beaver, who's gonna trap them. So that's what this video is gonna be about. It's gonna be a little bit different, but I hope you enjoy. Let's get at it. Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. You're watching A Ritter Bit Will Do, and today we are out at Yukon Acres, and I'm gonna meet up with somebody that is gonna help us trap those darn beaver that have been giving us such a problem. So stick around, this should be a fun one. All right, everybody, I was telling you that I was going to have somebody come out here and help us control the beaver problem. So I'd like to introduce to you Meadow Kauffeld. She is out here. She's going to take care of our problem. So thank you so much for coming out here.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. So we're here in March, south of Grand Rapids area, which is located in north central Minnesota. And we're starting to look at thaw. And so you've expressed the interest in having some of the beaver issues managed on your property here. And
we got a problem. We got land that we can't use, so I'm thankful to have you out here. This is great.
Yeah, and I think that's a motivation for a lot of people, especially in Minnesota, to manage the beaver, is that they can't access property, and then they impact the hydrology. They are these amazing engineers.
Yeah,
so
they sure are.
Yeah, and as we look around, you can see that we're losing trees, whether they're drowning.
Right.
Yep. So we can't get them oxygen to the roots, or they're actually physically being cut.
Yes.
So
we need to solve that problem.
Yes.
So this is a great relationship because you train dogs. So
Yes.
you're going to come out here, and in exchange, you're going to be able to train your dogs out here for as long as you want. I don't care.
Wonderful.
But yeah, trap a beaver once in a while, and we're going to have a great partnership, I think, here, Meadow. So
yeah,
I really appreciate you coming out here. Yeah. Would you like to tell everybody what your profession is?
Well, I'm a wildlife biologist, but I'm also an outdoors woman. And I actually teach currently at the college here in Grand Rapids, and I teach in the Natural Resources Department. So this is kind of in my bailiwick.
Yeah. So I got the right person, an outdoors woman who's going to come out here, take care of the beaver problem, knows exactly what to do. I'm sure you know the behavior of a beaver, which where they go, their habitat, what they're looking for, where to set traps, and how to get them.
Yeah, I would be primarily water trapping, and so it'll be spring beaver season, which is when we have the thaw happening. The beaver are coming out of the ice. They're really hungry, and then they're also dispersing.
All right.
So the adults are kicking the young out of the hut at that time, or the beaver lodge or house. And so we have a lot of young beavers that are moving, and they are beginning to have some controversies. They're fighting, and there's a little bit of territorial disputes
going through the teenager stage of beavers. So the mom and dad are saying, "Get out of here. Go build your own dam and find your own lodges."
Yes, exactly. Stop eating all of our food, right? You're competing with your young brother and sister, and so
so I pretty much got the best person out here for the job. I mean, this really worked out really well.
Yeah.
So we're happy to have you, and keep us posted.
I will.
If you get any of these pesky beaver, send me some pictures, and I'll keep you guys updated on the videos. So stay tuned for beaver trapping. We're going to solve this problem. I've been telling you guys that we're going to take care of this issue this spring. Well, it's almost spring. Things are starting to thaw out, and I'm going to get back out here in the summertime, and we're going to start building the road to get back here and access some of the land, and we're going to be putting that bridge back in place, and it's going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned for all of that. So Meadow and I are out here kind of wandering the property, and I was showing her some of these massive poplar aspen trees that these beaver have been taking out. And she's telling me about trees. You guys got to hear this. What are you telling me about these trees here, Meadow? Tell me everything you know.
Okay, well, we're looking at some quaking aspen here, and quaking aspen have one sex per house, much like humans do, right? And so some plants have both sexes in one plant, and others have male and female. And aspen tend to be, or they're actually one of those species that has male and female plants. Okay. So aspen are clones, and they typically reproduce vegetatively, but they still sexually reproduce. And so you have these male trees here, and there's a female here. This
is content that's still okay to watch, you guys. Yes. You got kids watching, don't worry. We're not going to get too in depth.
We're just talking about
the sexuality of trees here.
But, so we have these male trees, and we have a few females, and they're clones. So all of these individuals, like these two trees, are genetically the same individual.
Okay.
And this is likely the same genetically. The same individuals.
All right.
Because they're clones, and some of these clones live thousands of years, and they're some of the largest living organisms on Earth.
Really?
Yeah. And so these swollen buds right now, it's March, the buds are becoming active, are actually flowers that formed last year. They been dormant all winter, and now they're beginning to swell and break bud. They're going to start to break bud, and these catkins are full of pollen. They're anthers.
Okay.
The pollen's, again, rich in fats and proteins, and that is one of the most important food sources for ruffed grouse in winter.
Oh.
And so on our way in,
we've seen a couple grouse. Well, we've seen one today. I seen a couple yesterday.
Yeah, so we've got a couple of patches of thermal cover. So they're conifers, dense conifers. So there we had red and white pine, and I think there was a spruce over there, and then at the base is these young balsam firs, and so we have this very dense conifer. So that's good thermal cover when we don't have good snow covering, because otherwise they'll snow roost.
They can get out of the wind, and they can don't have a whole lot of snow to deal with. And yeah. And
then you say that there's always grouse there.
All the time.
Usually you find grouse where they can find everything they need in the full year, right?
Unless I shoot them.
Yeah, well, if somebody else comes back in, because if it's good enough, somebody else will be back.
They do, they move in.
Yeah, and so that's what these birds will actually go up in these male aspens in the wintertime, and they'll feed for 15 minutes in the morning, and then about 15 minutes in the afternoon, and what they do is then they go back to the
have breakfast and lunch scheduled.
Well, dinner actually.
Dinner.
They fill their crops full of these very big male aspen buds.
No kidding.
And then they digest all day. And then they'll, right before bedtime at night, they'll digest all night. And so they'll either be underneath the snow or in a thermal roost. And they just have droppings and their body digests. But these trees, they produce a very high quality food that they can feed themselves very quickly and limit their exposure to predators.
Okay.
So it's a pretty important food source. And they will use some of these other things, like you have some birch and alder catkins and things along those lines, but this is in fact the best for them here in Minnesota.
You know everything there is to know. I'm learning a lot, you guys. This is great. Well, thanks again. Maybe we'll talk about some more stuff here soon. So stick around, guys. So when you say clones, they're kind of these trees kind of pop up from the original root system, don't they? So when you cut down a tree, they kind of pop up. And if you guys have watched Mike Morgan, he's been cutting down a lot of trees in his property, and they just keep popping up, right? He cuts something down, new trees come up, so he doesn't have to replant. And it's the same thing with these aspen trees.
Yes.
Every time a logger comes in, the first thing to grow are the aspen trees.
Aspens, yep. And so they're storing this energy, especially trees at this age. These are getting to be pretty old. They start to lose vigor. But a young, mature aspen tree, 60 years old or so, if you go and you cut it, they've stored a lot of energy in their root system. Okay. And they're waiting for that chance to regenerate. So aspen are an early successional species. They're a species that is waiting for a disturbance, whether it's a windstorm, a fire, humans logging. Yeah. And so they can quickly take advantage of that release resource. And the limiting resource a lot of times in forests is sunlight. And so when the sun hits the surface of the soil and it warms the soil, it's kind of spurs them into action. And so even on what time of year you harvest has a huge influence on what we call regeneration. Okay. And so if it's late summer, a lot of times they don't regenerate as well, say if you cut in the middle of winter, because they're completely dormant at that time.
Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, I did a live stream on YouTube not too long ago.
Yeah. That's fun.
I think I got an idea for a potential guest, you guys. So if I can talk her into it sometime, we'll get a bunch of questions from you guys, and maybe we can learn something from Meadow here. You are just a wealth of information, and it's fun to hear from you.
Get a little forest ecology seminar. So.
Yeah, right. And we can get college credit for it too, right?
Maybe. You take the course at the college to be way ahead, right?
So, guys, remember last fall we took down these giant aspen trees, right? Well, I'm back here with Meadow. She's a wealth of knowledge. So if you want to learn something, get another college credit, take it away, Meadow. Tell us about what's going on here.
Well, I was just talking to you about how aspen trees are a relatively short-lived species. They don't live very long. An 80-year-old aspen tree is really old. Yeah. And they begin to get decadent. So we're walking on this field edge, and there's some pretty old trees here. And so as a tree gets older and nears the end of its life, it begins to lose its immunity and its restrictions, or basically the bulwark it puts against things like insects. And so they maybe have fungal infections, or they have a damage to the trunk, or they lose a limb, and that exposes the inner wood to things like fungus and insects. Same thing with their wood. You know, you can see this one has frost crack or damage here. That was a likely entry point for some of this rot here in the heart. And so these trees just don't live that long. And the problem is that if you don't cut aspen when they're young and vigorous enough, they don't regenerate very well afterward. Because there's a lot of energy that's going into regeneration, and as they get older, they put less and less energy into that root system and more into just kind of surviving for the next year's reproductive event.
So this is really about as big as these aspen trunks will get.
I've seen bigger, but this is pretty big. Yes.
That's pretty massive. It's the biggest one on this property, I'm pretty sure. So see, guys, when I told you that I needed to take the tree down, it was mature. It was either take it down or it was going to fall down because it has these stress cracks and it was infested with them.
And when it comes to private forest management, you know, if you want to utilize the tree, you know, there's different uses. So you could fall down and become what we call coarse woody debris, which, you know, helps with nutrient cycling in soil. Also provides a lot of habitat for other species of wildlife, especially small critters like salamanders and rodents that then are the foundation for other different larger species that eat those things. Mm-hmm. But also, you know, if you're a home owner and you burn wood and you have a small forest plot, it makes sense to harvest multiple trees at the same time so that they do regenerate young trees.
Right. Yep.
And at an appropriate age, so they have enough energy to do that.
Yeah. So some of the wood from these particular trees, we actually brought out to the school. I don't know if you've seen that video, but we use them as stumps for outdoor learning spaces at our school.
Oh.
So it's gonna be. I don't remember if I made a video of that. I think I did. You guys tell me. I can't even remember. But what I'm guessing is going to happen here, Meadow, is that now I'm going to see all kinds of clones of this aspen tree start popping up, right? And this is probably one here, I would imagine.
Yeah, and that one out there, that young one in the field. So what happens is that oftentimes aspen trees, willows, things like that will reclaim fields. They kind of slowly march into this process of succession. So you get these young trees, and I think the first time I met you, you were mowing between all of these pine trees. If you didn't do that, it would quickly return to aspen because that's what wants to be on the site.
Yeah, and we want to grow a little stand of pines over there. So yeah, we were keeping that down exactly. Well, all right. Well, let's keep moving on. Hey, I hope you're learning something because my brain's getting pretty full. So hopefully yours are too. So stick around, guys. I think we're going to end this video right here, guys, because I've got a lot of footage of Meadow and I just kind of wandering around the property. She goes over in depth about a lot of different things. If you have a question for her, please leave it down in the comments. Don't forget to like this video. I'd really appreciate that. That gets me out to a larger audience, right, in the YouTube world. I would appreciate it a lot. Check out our Facebook group, A Ritter Bit Will Do. And until next time, guys, as always, keep on tractoring, and God bless.